100 civilizations, philosophers and scientists have come with answers. But the bewilderment remains, for each human soul must find the secret in its own faith. The tender and haunting legend of the portrait of Jennie is based on the two ingredients of faith, truth and hope.
William Dieterle will likely not be
There is
among the
such a
first
portrait
wave
among
of
the
names one associates with Hollywood, relegated to the sea halls of Hollywood workmen, the tacked-on name behind a number of actor vehicle biopics at Warner Brothers. Dieterle is rarely thought of as an auteur, if thought of at all, despite possessing all the necessary qualities. An actor turned director, having appeared among others in Murnau's Faust. The German settled in Hollywood in the early 30s, which proved his most prolific period, a slew of B films that each pushed itself towards new ideas, be that the world-transcending Crane in Man Wanted, the genre-blending in 6 Hours to Live, or the modernization of the Western in Dr. Socrates. This great, if critically unrecognized period led him to his most financially lucrative, artistically redundant one, the avowed steady supply of biopics and historical dramas, ranging from the well-made Boa Juarez to the contentious The Life of Zola. After this decade of stability, Dieterle briefly settled in the melodrama genre, directing 4 special films, all starring Joseph Cotten, an actor not unequally overshadowed like Dieterle himself. The gentle giant, whose willingness to delegate the expressive weight to his co-stars have the pictures he appeared in as well as it did not his legacy. The 4 films in question are Love Letters, Portrait of Jennie, both starring Jennifer Jones, I'll Be Seeing You with Ginger Rogers, and September Affair with Jean Fontaine, ordered by way of resemblance. The first 2 films of Ruptures, the latter of Flow. Each is melodrama to the core, either metaphysical or social realist terms. What is life but a series of masks and identities one takes on? Pirandello would have said. Love Letters embodies this view most distinctly. Cotton plays Alan, a soldier during the last weeks of World War II, who ghostwrites a letter to Victoria, played by Jennifer Jones, a young girl in Britain, for a fellow soldier, never anticipating the two to meet. When they do, disaster follows. Marriage, death, trauma. Victoria ends up charged with the murder of the man, suffers a shock that suppresses her memory, and returns to life only as Singleton, oblivious to her prior past. Cotton meets her and the two immediately fall in love while playing their respective roles. Singleton slowly remembers the letterman with its history, while simultaneously trying to help Alan find the Victoria he so loves, pushing herself closer to her fate. The ending is interesting in that it serves 2 vital functions, both happy and circular. The aunt Victoria ends up visiting at the same house the murder occurred helps her regain her memory to provide melodramatic catharsis. Cotton is forced to reveal himself as the letterman precisely through reciting one of the last he sent.
I think of you, my dearest, as a distant promise of beauty untouched by the world.
Insulating himself back into that very identity, just as the aunt, the only rational agent in the entire film, reveals to Victoria the consequences of his behavior. The camera promptly neglects her, just as Victoria does, who falls in love anew. The brief contact with the real is immediately concealed by a return to identities, the mandated happy ending as its bandage, but also the reminder of the hidden symbolic structure governing our relationships. With Portrait of Jennie, this is Dieterle's most ambitious project, engulfed purely in the logic of melodrama, where sense is made on the level of repressed desire. Dieterle shifts beautifully towards the Gothic in the second half, as consciousness and perspective of it is carefully transplanted from Alan to Victoria. Portrait of Jennie takes after Love Letters in the complexity of Jones' character, who here comes to the aid of downtrodden painter Cotton, invigorating him with artistic motivation as the apparition of a girl who died several years ago. The rest of the film follows Cotton investigating her history, working to prevent her tragic death, as they continue to meet in the interstices of time. It is one of the rare Hollywood films that rejects every attempt at cheap explanation, instead allowing the purity of the emotion and its logical inexplicabilities to hang over the film. At times literally, as it briefly bursts into technicolor during the last act. The mythical winters of New York sculpt some of Dieterle's finest scenes, ones which are usually preceded by a canvas-like opening, which the interactions of the two will be painted on. Much has been made in recent history of so-called dream logic and the false freedoms it grants the director. Dieterle makes use of its mechanisms too, though never to solve and navigate the impassable, for he's not interested in explanations. A strange present that has in it past and future irrevocably infused, yet tied only to the imminent, remains here, no matter how much one of the sides pushes it into its opposite. The more Cotton, by extension, we come to know, the less we seem to understand. That's for the better, Dieterle suggests. I'll Be Seeing You is the film that reformulates the entanglement of identities that made love letters so intriguing onto a more concrete social space, through a direct confrontation with social taboos, conventions, and our navigation of them. Here for the female ex-convict Ginger Rogers, PTSD-ridden soldier Cotton, and the interwovenness of their plights. Of the four, it's the most modest visually, relishing in the awkward meetings between the two, which works romantically, asynchronous to the typical suave romance film.
Traveling on business or...
No, I'm on vacation. Christmas vacation.
What kind of business are you in? I mean, what sort of work do you do?
Well, I travel.
Oh.
I'm a traveling sales lady.
And as a comment on this very reintegration of outcasts, it goes beyond mere material matters. Dieterle allocates equal attention to both and equal sincerity too, reducing neither to blind cliché. The scenes of Khan fighting his panic attacks, first talking himself through it,
It's sure banging away. It doesn't sound that loud.
while being soothed by the memory of Rogers' voice pitching him on, are particularly stunning, a rare moment of extreme honesty and empathy in studio Hollywood.
Zach, you've got 8 days to believe. 8 days. You must believe. You must believe. Must believe. Must believe.
September Affair. At heart, a travelogue film, the likes Hollywood would produce ad nauseum in the subsequent decade, though one that uses its sense of place perfectly. The endless beauty of Capri exacerbate only the transience of the lovers who vow to enjoy it. Here, we also find great culmination of the prior Cotton films, where the responsibility bestowed upon him is gradually shifted onto Fontaine, who must bear to make the decisions, not for herself but a family with whom she shares nothing. In a way foreshadowing Barbara Stanwyck's sacrifice in Douglas Sirk's There's Always Tomorrow. Both films work from the house and the nuclear family as basis. Dieterle just does it completely removed from its physical actuality, its physical reminders, operates more abstractly from the level of the husband's intrinsic desires. Every Hollywood melodrama must play the oscillations between highlighting the repressed conflict, which may entail transgressive tendencies, and the cathartic return to the norm. In their contradictions, they have inherent interest. Some return to the conventions they expose, some are willing to go beyond them. Each bears the risk of irrevocable decisions. Dieterle's films show just how they do it, a master of precisely this risk-taking, emotion gradually lashing out.